Hello, I'm Dr. Peter Lind. I'm a wellness chiropractor with strong emphasis in functional neurology and metabolic disorders. Are you frustrated with the current attempts to find out the problems of fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, and chronic pain? There's usually not been much testing done on these conditions, and the treatment protocols are usually harsh medications with powerful side effects. Fibromyalgia and chronic pain literally means pain throughout the body that comes and goes but never goes away. There's an exhaustive part of this problem where a person feels tired 24 hours a day. They wake up tired and go through the day tired and have an unfit night of sleep. Also included in this condition is brain fog, where the brain is just inactive or has a difficulty time remembering things and saying certain words. Concentration is very minimal as well. The first things we want to do is a functional neurological test. And by that I mean doing simple tests to the brain with movements and activities to find out which parts of the brain are either firing too much or too slow. Once we can find these areas out, we can apply certain protocols and measures to increase the firing of a low-firing nerve system or decrease the firing of parts of the brain that are working too low. There are several other conditions related to this. One is light sensitivity. Most people with these issues are light sensitive, and that's because part of the brainstem, called the mesencephalon, has neurons related to light. So when this area of the brain is stimulated through light, we get overfiring, and people don't like that because the brain is acting too much. Also, in this part of the mesencephalon or brainstem are parts related to digestion and heart rate. So at the same time, we get increased activities to these areas. Once we find areas that are not working too well, we might want to apply light in certain parts of the body. We might want to add certain stimulation, such as olfactory or smell, to certain parts of the brain. We want to apply vibration frequencies, or we might apply different protocols to one side of the body to increase firing to the opposite side of the brain. These are new procedures. They're called brain-based therapies, and we apply those once we find out the functional problems related to the brain. The second part I'd like to mention to you is the metabolic system. This is your organs, glands, tissues, and cells that are not functioning correctly. And there's a priority system. The first priority is autoimmunity. That is, certain foods create antigens that your body may not have seen before. I wrote a book called Barren Harvest that illustrates the genetically modified foods that are in our food system these days. This and other kinds of foods that we eat, our bodies produce antibodies to, which is a good thing. But in turn, these antibodies attack our own systems. So you might have antibodies that attack the thyroid gland. You might have antibodies that attack different parts of your nerve system. Your body cannot heal until, number one, these autoimmune processes are found, and number two, they've got to be dampened. So we check this sensitivity that you might have related to autoimmunity. There are several other systems of priority. One is anemia. That's low oxygen levels in the blood. Also blood glucose and sugar metabolism. Your body cannot heal if your metabolism of your glucose levels are increased and unbalanced. Another priority before we continue is your gastrointestinal system. Like I mentioned, parts of your mesencephalon or your brainstem create the firing to the gastrointestinal system. So you might have indigestion, bloating, you might feel like your tummy is sick all the time. Well, down in the gut area, you might have hydrochloric acid problems, you might have even a bacteria that's gone uncorrected. The other priority is the fatty acid metabolism. This is your lipids and your cholesterol, and these are highly imbalanced in most people, and they need to be discovered and corrected as well. So we have to run certain blood chemistry panels on you to find out what these imbalances are. When I ask for people's blood chemistry panels, and I get from other doctors, they're so incomplete you can't see the whole picture. We want to order a functional range that includes many systems of your body and see how one system coordinates with the other system. This is a huge missing piece in the world of healthcare today. You can't see what's going on unless you do the test to find out. So the metabolic system is a huge part of the system, and that applies directly with the neurological part of the system. The third point I'd like to talk to you about is fuel and activation. Fuel in the form of oxygen and activation in the form of movements. Most people's oxygen levels are very low, like I mentioned with anemia, but there's also low oxygen levels in the tissues. So we can measure your tissue perfusion of oxygen, and when we find that's low, we can apply certain oxygen therapies, such as concentrated oxygen, to increase the oxygen level. Your body cannot heal if your oxygen levels are low. So we apply a certain protocol to increase the oxygen level of your system. How did you get this way? You didn't get this way just yesterday or last week or last year. Oftentimes it's a progression of issues, and they're related to three major stresses in your life. The first one is chemical stresses. And again, I mentioned this is the foods that you eat, the water that you drink, or the beverages, and these create certain contaminations in our system. Once we find out what those are, you've got to avoid those so your body can heal. The second stress is physical stress, and this includes falls and traumas and accidents. This can upset the balance of the nerve system. Physical traumas and accidents can create imbalances in your nerve system that will never be the same unless they're corrected. So physical stress is the second major issue that needs to be addressed. The third area of stress is not often talked about, but this is the mental emotional stresses. These have gone on usually in most people for many, many years, but it's usually the contribution of all three of these major stresses where your body reaches a tipping point, or what I call metabolic capacity, where it can't continue the way it is. It becomes stressed to the point where the body begins a symptomatic process and diseases begin to progress. I hope you've gained a lot of valuable information that will help you get on the road again to good health and an improved life. I'm Dr. Peter Lind.